Richard Blake was only 35 years old, but he was already one of the richest men in the country. He owned hotels, shopping malls, and several companies. His house was as big as a palace. It had 10 bedrooms, a swimming pool, a private cinema, and even an elevator. Everything looked perfect from the outside, but inside Richard's heart there was a deep emptiness. He sat by the large glass window in his mansion, watching the rain fall. The house was quiet. Too quiet. No children running, no wife calling his name, no sound of laughter, just silence. Richard had dated many beautiful women, but they all wanted one thing: his money. Some of them even asked him how much he would give them before they agreed to date him. One girl said, "If I marry you, I want a car and a house first." Another said, "I like you, but only if you buy me designer clothes every month." He felt used. None of them really cared about who he was. They only loved his money, so he stopped dating and stayed alone. One evening, while eating alone in his dining room, Richard spoke to his best friend and personal assistant, Ben. "I'm tired, Ben," Richard said. "I'm tired of fake people, fake love, fake smiles. I want to find someone who loves me for me." Ben nodded. "You have to find someone who sees your heart, not your bank account. But that will not be easy, not when your name is Richard Blake." Richard thought for a moment. What if I become someone else? What if I disappear for a while and live like a poor man? Ben dropped his spoon in shock. "What? You want to become poor on purpose?" "No," Richard smiled. "Not really poor, just pretend. I'll dress like a beggar and live on the streets for a few weeks. No one will know who I am. No money, no cars, no phones. Just me in the world." Ben laughed at first, thinking it was a joke, but Richard was serious. He was ready to give up everything just to feel real love. "But what if something happens to you out there?" Ben asked, looking worried. "I trust you," Richard replied. "You'll check on me from time to time, just from a distance." "I need this, Ben. I need to know if someone can love a beggar, not a billionaire." That night, Richard packed a small bag. He took old clothes, a torn blanket, and just enough money to buy food for one day. He left all his credit cards, watches, and phones behind. He removed his expensive shoes and wore simple sandals. He even rubbed dirt on his face and hands to look like someone who had been suffering. Before leaving the mansion, he stood at the front door and looked back. "Goodbye, old life," he whispered. "I hope to return with a heart full of love." The next morning, Richard took a bus to a far part of the city, an area filled with poor people, struggling workers, and street beggars. He sat near a dirty alleyway and placed a small tin cup in front of him. He lowered his head and began to beg. Some people gave him strange looks. Some held their noses and walked away. Others looked at him with pity, but said nothing. For the first time in his life, Richard felt invisible. No one knew him. No one cared. At night, he slept under a bridge with other homeless people. The ground was cold. The sound of rats and cars passing above kept him awake. His body ached, his stomach growled, but he didn't give up. "This is what real life looks like," he told himself. "I need to feel it all." It was the 4th day since Richard had left his mansion to live on the street. His body was weak. He had not eaten anything solid since the day before. His lips were dry. His legs were shaking. He sat on the side of a dusty road with his back against a dirty wall, holding his rusty tin cup with shaky hands. Many people passed by. Some glanced at him, others ignored him. A few laughed at him. "Young man like you begging, go and work," one woman shouted. Richard said nothing. He just lowered his eyes. He was about to close his eyes from hunger when he heard a gentle voice. "Hello?" the voice said softly. He looked up slowly. A young, dark-skinned girl stood before him. She wore a simple yellow dress. Her hair was neatly packed in a bun. Her eyes were full of concern. "You look very hungry," she said kindly. "Have you eaten today?" Richard shook his head weakly. "No, not today." She looked at him, then looked at her small purse and sighed. "I don't have any money right now, but wait, please wait here. I'll go home and bring you food. Don't go, okay? Please stay here. Just give me a few minutes." Richard stared at her. No one had ever said something like that to him since he came to the street. "Okay," he said softly. "I'll wait." "My name is Joy," she said, smiling a little. "Don't forget." I'm coming back." And with that, she turned and ran off quickly down the street. Richard watched her disappear around the corner. A small tear rolled down his cheek. He had no idea why her kindness touched him so deeply. Maybe because it was the first time someone saw him, truly saw him, as a person. About 15 minutes later, she returned. She held a small black nylon bag in her hand. "I'm sorry I took long," she said, breathing fast. "Here, it's jollof rice and a piece of fish. I cooked it at home this morning." Richard opened the bag and the smell of hot rice filled his nose. His stomach made a loud sound. He quickly started eating with his hands. Joy sat beside him on the ground. "Eat slowly," she said, smiling. "Don't choke." After he finished eating, he looked at her and whispered, "Thank you." She nodded. "You're welcome." They sat in silence for a few minutes. Then Joy asked him, "Where do you sleep at night?" Richard hesitated. "Under the bridge, with other beggars." Her eyes widened in shock. "No, you can't stay there. It's not safe. People steal, fight, even get hurt under that bridge." He shrugged. "I have nowhere else." Joy stood up. "Wait here again. Let me go ask my father. Maybe he will allow you to sleep in our compound." She paused, then added, "I live with my father, my mother, my stepmother, and my stepsister. It's a bit complicated." Richard looked surprised. "All of you in one house?" Joy nodded slowly. "Yes. My father married my mother many years ago, but she couldn't have a child for a long time. So, he married a second wife." Richard listened quietly as Joy continued her story. "My stepmother got pregnant first. She gave birth to a baby girl, my stepsister. Everyone celebrated. My father was so happy. He said God had finally blessed him with a child. He praised the second wife, said she was strong, classy, and a true woman." She sighed deeply. "A few months after that, my mother finally got pregnant too. Then I was born. But my father didn't care much. He already loved the second wife more. He said my mother was too local, too quiet. He spent most of his time with the second wife. He bought her clothes, gifts, everything." Richard frowned. "That's not fair to your mother." Joy nodded sadly. "It's not. My mother is a good woman. She cooks for everyone, cleans the house, and prays every night. But my father still treats her like a servant. Sometimes I see her crying, but she hides her tears." She wiped her eyes and stood up. "But don't worry. My mother is kind. If I tell her about you, she will agree to help." Before Richard could speak, Joy was already walking away again. Joy hurried into the house, her heart beating fast. The image of the poor man sitting helpless on the street stayed in her mind. She entered through the back door into the small kitchen where her mother was slicing vegetables. Her mother looked up. "Joy, where are you coming from?" "Mum," Joy said, breathing hard, "I met someone, a poor man. He looks hungry and sick. He sleeps on the street. I gave him some food. Please, I want to tell Daddy about him. Maybe he can sleep here for a few days." Her mother turned fully to face her. "What did you just say?" "I said he needs help. He's been sleeping under the bridge. He looks like he hasn't eaten well in days. Please, Mum, we have a small empty room. He can sleep there." Her mother shook her head. "Joy, you just met a stranger and you want to bring him into our house. What if he's dangerous? You don't even know his name." Joy stepped forward. "But you always tell me to help people in need. You always say kindness matters." Her mother sighed and turned her eyes away, silent for a few seconds. "Where exactly did you see him?" "Close to the junction. He was sitting on the floor, shaking. I gave him food and he was so thankful." "Please, Mum." Her mother sat down on a kitchen stool. "Is he an old man?" He looks young. Maybe in his 30s. But his body is weak." Her mother thought quietly for a moment, then she spoke. "Okay, let him come. But don't tell your father." Joy's eyes widened. "Really?" "Yes," her mother said. "You know how your father is. He listens to your stepmother too much. If he hears that a stranger is in this house, he will chase him out or insult me. I don't want trouble." Joy nodded. "Yes, I know." Her mother looked at her. "We'll put him in the small empty room near the backyard. But listen, he must not walk around during the day. He should stay in that room." Only come out at night when everyone else is asleep or not home." "Thank you, Mum," Joy said. Her mother pointed her finger. "This is not a joke, Joy. If anything goes wrong, your father will not spare me. So please, keep everything quiet." "I promise." Joy didn't waste time. She ran back to the street where she left the man. He was still there, sitting by the wall, his arms crossed, looking cold and tired. "You're still here," she said, smiling. "I told you I would wait," he replied gently. "Come with me," Joy said. "I spoke to my mother. You can stay in our house, in a small empty room. But there are rules. You can't walk around during the day. You must stay quiet. My father doesn't know you're coming." Richard stood up slowly. "You're serious?" "Yes," she replied. "Let's go." They walked together under the quiet evening sky. When they reached the gate, Joy opened it slowly. She led him through the back, passing beside the kitchen, and finally into a small empty room near the back of the house. The room was simple, just a bare floor, a small window and a wooden door. But it was clean. Her mother was already waiting. "So this is him?" she asked, looking at Richard. "Yes, Ma," Richard said, lowering his head. Her mother looked at him carefully, then nodded. "You can stay here, but you must not make noise. No walking around during the day, no talking to anyone else. Do you understand?" "Yes, Ma, I understand." "Thank you." Her mother turned to Joy. "Go inside and bring him a bucket of water, soap and a wrapper he can use to dry himself. I'll bring him a mat and a plate of food later." Joy smiled. "Yes, Mum." She went in and returned with the items. Richard stood silently, tears forming in his eyes. He had never received such kindness from strangers. "God bless you both," he whispered. "I don't know how to thank you." "You can start by resting," her mother replied. "You need strength." That night, Richard cleaned himself in the small bathroom behind the kitchen where no one could see him. Joy's mother later came with a warm plate of rice and stew. He ate silently and then lay down on the mat, looking at the ceiling. For the first time in many days, he felt safe. Inside the house, Joy sat on her bed, thinking about him. Something about him felt different. He didn't speak like other beggars. His words were clear, gentle, respectful. His eyes looked like they carried secrets. "Who are you, really?" she whispered to herself. The next morning, Richard woke up early. He sat up slowly, stretched his arms and listened. The house was quiet. Birds chirped softly in the trees outside. A rooster crowed in the distance. He looked around the small room and smiled. It wasn't a mansion with golden walls or expensive furniture, but it was warm, it was safe, and it came with kindness, something money couldn't buy. After some time, he heard a soft knock on the door. "It's me, Joy," the voice whispered. Richard stood up and opened the door slightly. Joy stood there holding a small tray of breakfast, bread, boiled egg, and a hot cup of tea. "Good morning," she said with a smile. "Good morning," he replied, taking the tray gently. "Thank you so much." Joy stepped inside and looked around. "Did you sleep well?" "I haven't slept that well in a long time," Richard said truthfully. Joy sat on the wooden stool in the corner. "I hope the room is not too hot. Sometimes the window doesn't bring in enough air." "No, it's fine," he said. "It's more than enough." He ate quietly while Joy watched him. For a moment, they said nothing, but their eyes kept meeting. "Why were you on the street?" Joy finally asked. "What happened to you?" Richard paused. He couldn't tell her the truth, not yet. So he said carefully, "Life turned upside down. I lost everything I had." Joy lowered her eyes. "I'm sorry." "You don't have to be," he replied softly. "You've done more for me than anyone else has ever done." Joy smiled, though her eyes looked sad. "I just wanted to help. And you did." Suddenly they heard footsteps in the main house. Joy stood up quickly. "My father is awake. I have to go now. Please, don't come out until evening." "I won't," Richard promised. She walked away quietly, leaving him alone. 2 days later, trouble began to rise inside the house. Joy was doing her best to keep her secret safe. She continued to bring food and water to Richard in the mornings and evenings. Her mother helped quietly, making sure Joy's father or the second wife, Madame Stella, didn't suspect anything. But in a house full of secrets, someone was bound to notice. Joy's stepsister, Martha, had started to watch Joy closely. She noticed that Joy would always disappear early in the morning and again at night. Sometimes she would see her carrying plates of food or filling buckets with water and sneaking through the back. One afternoon, Martha told her mother, Madame Stella, "Mama, Joy is hiding something," she said with a sneaky smile. "She's always going to the back of the house, like she's meeting someone." Madame Stella narrowed her eyes. "That foolish girl. What can she possibly be hiding? You think she's sneaking food for the neighbor's dog?" "No, Mama, it's not a dog. I think it's a man." Madame Stella dropped her spoon in shock. "A man? In this house?" "Yes." "Let's keep watching her. Give me 2 more days, I'll find out." Madame Stella nodded. "Put an eye on her. That girl and her mother think they're smart." That night, Joy didn't know that someone was watching her every move. Martha saw her carrying food again. She waited until Joy returned to her room, then sneaked to the back door. She stood quietly, looked around, then knocked softly on the small room. "Joy," she whispered, pretending. Richard had just finished eating. He was happy, thinking it was Joy again. He opened the door slowly, but as the door swung wide, he froze. It was not Joy, it was Martha. She crossed her arms and stared at him with a wicked smile. "So, it's true," she said. "There is a man in this house, so this is where all the food and water have been going." Richard stepped back. "I'm sorry. Please, I'll leave right now. I didn't mean to." "Shut up," Martha said, stepping into the room and locking the door behind her. "You're not going anywhere." Richard's eyes widened. "What do you want?" She stepped closer, licking her lips. "You're so handsome. Look at your eyes, your skin, your teeth, so clean. You smell good too. I want to kiss you." "What?" Richard asked, shocked. "Please don't tell anybody." "You heard me," she whispered. "If you don't want me to tell my father, then you must sleep with me, right here, right now." Richard moved away. "Are you this cheap? You don't even know me, and you're asking me to sleep with you? That's disgusting." Martha laughed. "Cheap? That's none of your business. I'm in the mood and my body is hot. If you touch me well tonight, I'll keep your secret." Richard shook his head in anger. "You're loose, you're cheap, you're shameless, and you need help." That insult burned her. She walked closer and tried to touch him, but he pushed her hand away. "Get out," Richard said. Suddenly, Martha screamed at the top of her lungs. "Daddy! Daddy! Help! There's a stranger in the house. He wants to do bad things to me." Richard's heart stopped. "What are you doing?" In seconds, the compound came alive. Joy's father came rushing with a long stick in his hand. Madame Stella followed him, shouting. Martha was already crying fake tears on the floor. "There he is," she cried. "He came out of nowhere. He wanted to touch me." Joy's father raised the stick. You entered my house to steal and touch my daughter. You must go and meet your ancestors today." He ran toward Richard and hit him with the stick. Richard blocked it with his arm, falling backward. Joy and her mother ran out of the house. "Daddy, stop!" Joy shouted. "He didn't do anything." "Keep quiet," her father yelled. "This is the stranger you've been hiding." "Yes, but he's innocent," Joy cried. "He didn't touch anyone. Martha is lying." Richard stood up slowly. "Sir, please, I'm not a thief. I came here because Joy and her mother helped me. I've never done anything wrong." "You think I'll believe you?" Joy's father shouted. "You came into my house like a snake. You'll learn a lesson today." He raised the stick again, but Richard didn't move. "Wait." Joy's mother stepped in front of him. "Please, hear the truth." But Madame Stella pushed her aside. "You brought a man into this house without your husband's permission. Now your daughter is trying to protect him. Useless woman." Joy ran and held Richard's hand. "Don't worry, I won't let them hurt you." Tears rolled down her face. Her father looked at her with disappointment. "So you're now fighting me because of this dirty man?" "He's not dirty," she shouted. "He's the kindest person I've ever met." Martha stood beside her mother, fake crying. "He's lying. He wanted to kiss me. He touched me." "You're a liar," Joy screamed. Richard shook his head. "You're wicked." The neighbors had started to gather by the fence, watching the drama unfold. Joy's father turned to Richard. "You have 10 minutes to leave this house before I call the police." But before Richard could move, Joy stood boldly in front of him, tears running down her cheeks. "No, never," she said firmly. He is not leaving. If he leaves, then I go with him." Everyone gasped. Her father's face turned red with anger. "What did you just say?" "You heard me," Joy repeated. "If he leaves, I'm leaving too." Her mother stepped forward and held Joy's hand. "And I will go with my daughter. Since I am not welcome here, it's better I leave too. You already chose your foolish second wife over me a long time ago." Her father laughed mockingly. "So be it. You can go, both of you, you local dirty woman. I knew it. This young man has been sleeping with you and your useless daughter." Joy's mother's eyes widened. "What? How dare you speak to me like that?" She stepped forward, her voice strong and loud. "You think you're a man? You think you're wise? It is you and your so-called classy wife who are loose and useless. You've treated me and my daughter like slaves for years, but not anymore." Madame Stella hissed loudly and clapped her hands. "Better go, you village woman. You don't belong in this house." Joy's mother smiled. "You're right, I don't belong here. Thank God." She turned to Joy. "Go and pack a few things. We're leaving now." Joy ran inside the house, tears in her eyes, but her heart full of courage. She took a small bag and packed her clothes and a few of her mother's things. Richard helped her mother carry a small box with some pots and plates. As they left the compound, her father shouted behind them, "Don't ever come back. You'll regret this." Joy didn't even look back. Her mother walked with her head high, holding Joy's hand tightly. Richard walked beside them, quietly carrying the bags, his heart full of mixed emotions. 30 minutes later, they arrived at a quiet area at the edge of town. Joy's mother stopped in front of a small old house. The walls were dusty and the compound was empty. There was an iron gate that creaked as she opened it. "This is my father's house," she said quietly. Joy looked around. "Mum, I thought this house was abandoned." Her mother nodded. "Yes, my parents died many years ago, but someone was staying here, a relative. He moved to the city last month. Since then, the house has been empty. God brought you to us, and now I see this as my chance to finally be free." They walked into the house. It had 2 rooms, a small kitchen, and a bathroom at the back. The house was old but still strong. Joy smiled and hugged her mother. "I'm proud of you, Mum." Her mother wiped her eyes. "No, my daughter, I am proud of you. You stood by a stranger when others turned against him. That takes courage." Richard looked around quietly, then turned to them. "Mama, you both should not have followed me. You had a home. You had a place to stay. I am just a poor man." Joy's mother stepped forward and placed her hand on Richard's shoulder. "My son, don't say that. Good riddance to bad rubbish. That man and his so-called classy wife have tormented us for too long. I have been looking for a way to leave. God used you to rescue us." Richard's eyes filled with tears. "But what will you do now?" Joy replied, "We'll start afresh. We'll clean this house, fix what we can, and live peacefully. We don't have much, but at least we have each other." Her mother nodded. "Exactly. I'll start selling vegetables again. Maybe later we can start a small food business. What matters most is peace and love." Richard sat on an old wooden bench in the sitting room. He looked at Joy and her mother and felt something strange in his chest. They had left everything to follow him, someone they thought was a beggar. Later, Richard stepped outside and looked up at the stars. He had never felt this kind of peace before. Back in his mansion, he had 10 rooms, a private chef, and expensive gold plates. But he never felt at home. Here, in this small old house, with 2 women who had shown him love and respect, he felt something real. He smiled to himself. "I came here looking for true love," he whispered, "but I think I found something even greater. A family." Days had passed since Joy, her mother, and Richard settled into the quiet little house at the edge of town. Life was simple but peaceful. Each morning, they would clean the compound together. Joy's mother had started selling vegetables at the market. Joy helped her during the day, while Richard did small jobs for people in the neighborhood, cutting grass, fetching water, or helping fix broken windows. Though they had little, they laughed often. Their hearts were full. One quiet evening, just after dinner, Richard sat outside with Joy under the big mango tree in the compound. The stars twinkled above them, and the air was cool. The sound of crickets filled the night. Joy leaned her head on his shoulder. "Thank you for staying," she whispered. Richard looked at her. "I didn't have a choice," he said gently. "From the first day you gave me food, I felt something. Something I've never felt before." Joy smiled. "I felt it too, even when I didn't know your name. I just knew you were not like other people." There was a moment of silence. Then Richard turned fully to her and held her hand. His heart was beating fast. "Joy," he said softly, "I love you." Joy's eyes widened. She stared at him, tears slowly filling her eyes. "I love you too," she whispered. "From the first day I saw you, I just didn't know how to say it." Richard pulled her into a warm hug. "Thank you. You don't know what that means to me." "I should be the one thanking you," she said. "You made me believe in love." That night they sat together for hours, talking about their dreams, their fears, and their past. Joy spoke about how she wished to finish school and become a nurse. Richard just listened, smiling to himself. She still had no idea who he really was. 2 weeks later, Richard called Joy and her mother into the sitting room. "I've made a decision," he said seriously. They both looked at him. "I can't let you suffer like this because of me. I'm a man. And if I truly want to marry Joy, I have to work hard and make a life for us. I want to go to the city." Joy's heart skipped a beat. "To the city?" she asked slowly. "Yes," he said. "I need to work, save money, and prepare. I can't keep eating your food and sleeping under your roof forever." Joy stood up. "Number, I don't want you to go." Richard reached for her hand. "Joy, please, this is not goodbye. It's a promise. I will come back for you. I'll build a life for us. One you deserve." Tears filled Joy's eyes. "But what if you don't come back?" "I will," he said firmly. "I swear to you, I just need time." Joy's mother, who had been quiet, finally spoke. "My daughter, listen to him. He's a good man, and this is the right thing. If he stays here, what will he do? He has dreams, and so do you. Let him go, and let's pray for his success." Joy looked at her mother, then at Richard. Her heart was heavy. "Okay," she said in a shaky voice, "but please don't break my heart." "I won't," Richard said, holding her tightly. "You're the only one I have. I'll come back better and stronger." The next morning, Richard packed his small bag. He wore clean clothes and polished the old slippers Joy had given him. Before leaving, Richard hugged her mother. "Thank you for everything." She smiled. "Go well, my son. May God protect you." He turned to Joy. She didn't say a word. She only looked at him with teary eyes. "I'll be back, Joy, I swear. You've given me a reason to live again." She nodded, then hugged him tightly. "I'll wait for you, no matter how long." He kissed her forehead gently, then walked away, carrying his bag and his dreams. Joy stood at the gate long after he left, staring at the road. Later that evening, she sat quietly by the door, staring at the moon. "Mama," she said softly. "Yes, my daughter?" "What if he forgets me?" Her mother came and sat beside her. "He won't. You don't forget people who saved you." Joy leaned her head on her mother's shoulder. "I'm scared," she whispered. Her mother rubbed her back slowly. "So was I, the day I married your father. But love is not about never being scared. It's about being brave, even when your heart is shaking." Joy closed her eyes. "I miss him already." "I know, my child. But don't worry. If it's God's plan, nothing will stop him from coming back." When Richard returned to the city, he knew the first person he had to speak with was his father. The man had raised him with values, kindness, honesty, and courage. And now that he had found true love, it was time to open his heart. That evening, Richard entered his father's mansion. The tall gates, polished floors, and grand lights felt different now. He walked into the living room where his father, Mr. Blake, sat reading a newspaper. "Dad," Richard said gently. Mr. Blake looked up and smiled. "Son, you're back. Where have you been all this time?" Richard sat down. "I have something to tell you." He began from the beginning, how he had pretended to be a poor beggar, how he met Joy, and how her kindness and love changed everything. Mr. Blake listened quietly, his eyes focused. When Richard finished, the old man leaned back in his chair. "She followed you even when she had nothing to gain." "Yes, Dad," Richard replied. "She and her mother left everything behind. They believed in me when I had nothing." Mr. Blake smiled. "Then she is the one. Let's go and meet her." The next day, a black car drove quietly into the small village where Joy lived. Joy and her mother were sitting outside. Richard stepped out of the car with quiet confidence. But he was not alone. Another man followed behind him, a tall, elegant gentleman dressed in a fine native outfit. His shoes shined and his posture was calm and royal. It was clear from his appearance that he was a man of wealth and respect. Joy and her mother stood frozen at the entrance of their small compound. They couldn't believe what their eyes were seeing. Joy's mouth slowly opened. "Richard," her mother gasped. "My God, is that really him?" Richard smiled warmly. "Yes, it's me." Joy blinked fast, struggling to speak. You look different. You look rich." "I am," he said softly. "And this," he stepped aside, "is my father." Joy and her mother immediately dropped to their knees in shock and respect. "You're welcome, sir," Joy's mother said, still trying to make sense of everything. Mr. Blake smiled kindly and helped them both up. "Please, stand. You don't need to kneel to thank me. I'm the one who should be thanking you. My son has told me everything, and I came here today because I want to thank you." Joy looked at Richard. "I told him everything," Richard said. "The truth." Joy smiled. "So, your name is really Richard Blake?" "Yes," he said, "and I'm sorry for hiding it. I just wanted to be sure. I was tired of fake love. But you showed me something real. And now, I want to marry you." Joy gasped. "Really?" Richard stepped closer. "I love you, Joy. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. You've seen me at my lowest. You stayed. You believed. You deserve everything good." Joy covered her mouth with her hands, tears building in her eyes. "I love you too. And yes, I'll marry you." Mr. Blake smiled warmly. Joy's mother wiped her eyes with her wrapper. After a long hug, Joy pulled back slightly and said, "But Richard, before anything, you need to go to my father." Richard raised his brow. "Your father?" "Yes," she said. "As much as I dislike what happened, he is still my father. You need to see him, collect the marriage list, and do things the right way." Mr. Blake nodded in agreement. "She's right, son. Culture is important. Let's go and see him." The sun was high in the sky when Richard and his father, Mr. Blake, arrived at Joy's father's house. They came with smiles, ready to complete the final step, officially asking for Joy's hand in marriage and collecting the marriage list. Joy's father sat in a plastic chair under the mango tree. Richard and Mr. Blake greeted him respectfully and explained their reason for coming. "We've come to do the proper thing, sir," Mr. Blake said. "My son would like to marry your daughter, Joy. We are ready to collect the list and begin preparations." Instead of smiling or showing excitement, Joy's father frowned. "Never," he said coldly. "You cannot marry Joy." Richard was confused. "But sir, why?" Joy's father leaned forward, his voice firm. "In this house, Martha is the first daughter. Until she is married, Joy cannot marry. It's our tradition. If you want to marry Joy, then marry them both. Or wait until Martha finds a husband." Mr. Blake blinked in shock. "What?" "Yes," he said proudly. "Go and ask anyone around here. That's how things are done. The first daughter must marry first. We are not ready to break our customs just because you came with money and fine clothes." Richard's hands tightened into fists. His father stood up, eyes wide. "That's ridiculous," Mr. Blake said. "You want my son to wait forever because your first daughter hasn't found a husband. That's your problem, not mine." Joy's father replied without shame. "If you don't like it, go." Richard stood up too, clearly angry. "So, because of pride you want to block true love?" Joy's father shrugged. "This is our tradition." Richard and his father walked out without another word. As soon as they left, Martha and her mother stepped out from the room, smiling wickedly. "You did well," Madame Stella said, folding her arms. "That poor, ugly girl cannot marry a billionaire. He belongs to my daughter." Her husband smiled. "Yes, of course. Anything for you, my classy wife." Inside, Martha smiled to herself. "He will come back for me. Watch and see." Meanwhile, Richard and his father drove quietly toward Joy's house. The car was silent for minutes. Richard stared through the window, fists clenched. "Imagine the nonsense," Mr. Blake finally said, "telling my son to marry both daughters or wait like a fool." Richard shook his head. "I love Joy, Dad. I'm not marrying anyone else." "I know," his father said, "and I will stand with you." As they drove on, Mr. Blake suddenly sat up. "Wait, I just remembered something." "What is it?" Richard asked. "My old school friend. He's a prince. No, wait, he's now a king." Richard looked at him. "A king?" "Yes. We went to school together many years ago. His palace isn't too far from here. Let's go and speak with him. Maybe he can help." Excitement filled the car as they changed direction and headed toward the palace. When they arrived at the king's palace, 2 royal guards opened the gate. The place was grand, painted white with golden carvings and red tiles. A long flag flew gently in the breeze. A servant went inside to announce them. Moments later, the king himself came out in a flowing royal robe with a gold staff in hand. Mr. Blake stepped forward and smiled widely. "Your Royal Majesty." The king stared at him for a second, then his eyes widened. "Blake? Is that you?" Mr. Blake laughed. "Yes, it's me." The 2 old friends hugged and laughed like young boys again. "Wow, it's been ages," the king said. "What brings you to my kingdom?" Mr. Blake introduced his son. "This is Richard, my son. He wants to marry a beautiful girl he met in this village. But her father is saying he cannot marry her because she is the second daughter." The king raised his eyebrows. "He said that?" "Yes," Mr. Blake replied. "He said the first daughter must marry before the second." The king laughed hard. "That used to be the tradition many years ago, but it has been abolished. That custom ended over a year ago. Now any daughter can get married, whether first or last." Richard's eyes lit up. "Seriously?" "Yes," the king said. "That old tradition caused too many problems. Girls were forced to wait for years just because their elder sister didn't find a husband. It was unfair. So we removed it." Mr. Blake breathed in relief. "Thank God. I knew something was wrong." The king stood up. "Don't worry, my friend. I will send a message to the entire village. That marriage must go on. No one can stop true love." They all laughed and shared palm wine together. That evening, Richard and his father returned to Joy's house and told her everything. Joy's mouth fell open. "My father said what?" "He wants me to marry Martha or wait until she gets married," Richard said. Joy shook her head sadly. "That's terrible. I thought he had changed." "But there's good news," Mr. Blake added. "What is it?" her mother asked. "We went to the palace. My old friend is now the king of this land, and he confirmed it. That old tradition is no longer valid. Any daughter can marry, first or last." Joy gasped. "Really?" "Yes," Richard said with a smile, "which means our wedding can begin." Joy jumped and hugged him tightly. Her mother covered her mouth in joy. "God is wonderful." Richard looked into Joy's eyes. "We've been through so much, but nothing can stop us now. Let's get married." After the visit to the palace, the king kept his word. 2 days later, a royal messenger arrived at Joy's father's compound, carrying a sealed letter with the king's symbol. "His Royal Majesty has summoned you," the messenger said. "You must appear before the king tomorrow morning. It's urgent." Joy's father was confused. "The king? What for?" The messenger gave no answer, only repeated, "Be at the palace before noon. Don't be late." The next day, Joy's father dressed up quickly and went to the palace. He was nervous. As he entered the large hall, the king sat high on his golden throne, wearing his crown and long flowing robe. Guards stood at both sides. "Kneel," one guard commanded. Joy's father knelt. The king's voice was strong and clear. "I have heard of your behavior, and I am disappointed. A nobleman came to ask for your daughter's hand in marriage, and you tried to stop it with a custom that no longer exists." "Your Majesty, Joy's father began. But the king raised his hand. "Silence," he said. "That tradition was cancelled over a year ago. Every daughter has the right to marry when love finds her, no matter her position." Joy's father lowered his head in shame. "Now listen carefully," the king continued. Accept the young man and allow the marriage, or face the consequences of disobeying the throne. I will not allow pride and foolishness to destroy what the gods have joined together." "Yes, your majesty," Joy's father said with fear in his voice. "I accept." "Good," the king replied. "Now go and bless your daughter before you lose her completely." Joy's father stood up, thanked the king, and left the palace. That same week, the wedding plans began. Richard and Joy were finally free to celebrate their love without any obstacles. The wedding ceremony was grand and beautiful. The decorations sparkled, the music played joyfully, and guests came from far and wide to witness the love story that had touched the hearts of many. Joy wore a long white dress, her face glowing with happiness. Richard stood tall in his elegant native attire, holding her hand with pride. Joy's mother cried happy tears, and even her father, though humbled, came forward and gave his blessing. "I was blind," he whispered to Richard, "but thank you for not giving up." Richard nodded. "She's worth everything." After the wedding, Richard took Joy and her mother to the city. He moved them into a beautiful mansion with shining floors, soft beds, and a large garden filled with flowers. Joy's mother was given her own room and everything she ever lacked. Peace at last had come. But back in the village, Martha and her mother were filled with anger. "How can this be happening?" Stella screamed. "That poor dirty girl is now living in a mansion with a billionaire." Martha clenched her fists. "That's supposed to be me." "Me?" Stella turned to her husband and shouted, "You foolish, stupid man! Why did you allow this? You should have forced Richard to marry both daughters." Joy's father sat quietly, but his face was red with anger. "I am supposed to be in the city," Stella shouted. "Not that local woman. She has taken my place." That was the last straw. Joy's father stood up suddenly and shouted back. "Shut up!" Stella froze in shock. Martha's eyes widened. "You evil woman," he shouted again. "You have controlled me for too long. You turned me against my real wife and daughter. You and your child are full of wickedness." She opened her mouth to speak, but he continued, "I regret the day I married you. You destroyed my home. You filled me with pride and made me chase away the only people who truly loved me." Martha cried. "Daddy, don't daddy me," he shouted. "You and your mother are the reason I lost everything. And now you still want to fight? Leave Joy and her mother alone. Let them enjoy their peace." Stella turned her face away, bitter and defeated. But Martha and her mother were not done. Late one evening, they packed a small bag and entered a bus. They were going to visit a powerful native doctor in another village. "If we can't stop them with words," Stella said coldly, "we will stop them with charms. Joy and her mother must disappear. Then Richard will come back and marry you." Martha nodded. "We have no choice. We must do it." The bus started moving. It was a dark, stormy night. Rain poured heavily, thunder rumbled, but their hearts were full of evil. As the bus entered a bend along a slippery hill road, the driver lost control. The tires skidded, passengers screamed. The bus rolled 3 times. By morning, the news was everywhere. A terrible accident had occurred. Only 2 passengers did not survive. Martha and her mother. They died instantly. 2 weeks later, Joy's father could not take the silence anymore. His heart was heavy, and regret followed him everywhere like a shadow. The house that was once full of noise and drama was now silent. No Stella, no Martha, no joy, no laughter, just emptiness. He sat on the same bench under the mango tree where he once shouted at his first wife. Now he sat there crying. "She was right all along," he whispered to himself, "and I was the fool." That same day, he dressed in his cleanest native wear, combed his hair, and traveled to the city. He didn't bring a gift or a bag. He only carried the weight of regret and one silent prayer: that she would listen to him. When he arrived at the gate of the house where Joy and her mother now lived with Richard, he knocked gently. The security man asked, "Who do you want to see?" "I'm Joy's father," he said. "Please tell her mother I'm here." After some minutes, Joy's mother came out. She stopped a few steps away from him, arms folded. Her face calm but serious. He knelt down immediately. "Please," he began, his voice shaking. "Forgive me, I was a fool. I let pride, tradition, and a wicked woman turn me into something I'm not. I lost you, I lost Joy, and now I have nothing." She said nothing. He continued, "I know I failed you, but I'm ready to make things right. Let us be together again. Let's start over. I miss you. I miss your food, your smile, your calmness. Please, come back." Joy's mother slowly shook her head. "Never," she said clearly. He blinked. "What?" "Never in my life," she repeated. "I have moved on. I found peace. I found my voice again. I don't need a man like you." He stood up slowly. "But I'm not the same man." "No," she interrupted. "You are the same man, just weaker now. You only came back because the people you chose over me are gone. You didn't come back because you loved me. You came back because you're alone." His lips trembled. She stepped closer and looked into his eyes. "You had a good woman, and you threw her away like trash. You had a loving daughter, and you called her useless. You don't deserve to return to the same peace you destroyed." Tears began to fall from his eyes. "Please, I have nothing left." Joy's mother shook her head. "I have everything now. Peace, love, and a real family. Go back home. Live with your regrets." She turned around and walked back inside. He stood at the gate crying like a child. But it was too late. 1 year later, God blessed Joy and Richard with twin boys. They named them David and Daniel. Their home was full of laughter, baby cries, and love. Richard held Joy close. "You were worth every test," Joy smiled, "and you were worth every tear." Her mother rocked the babies gently, singing old songs from her childhood. Peace had returned. The storm was over, from the street to the palace, from rejection to celebration. Love had won in the end. And they lived